Hey guys, today we're doing a Smite Seasons tier list. This is actually a suggestion from my friend that I ignored for so long that two whole seasons have gone by now. Obviously, season 10's not done, but you get what I mean. Yeah, so we're basically just gonna be breaking down how enjoyable each season was, essentially. We're not gonna get too analytical with it. It's just how much fun was it. So this is obviously super subjective because one season could be super fun for you because you had a really good time with friends, or it could be a really bad season for you because you had a really bad uh ranked season that year, but like the season was actually fire. It just, you didn't have a lot of success that year. So it's super subjective here. So I'll try and be as objective as possible and just, think about what was added to the game at the time and like how fun it was to play. Like how much did this season enhance Smite, as well as how much fun was it to play, because a season can enhance all of Smite for the rest of the time, but it could have been really unfun to play through those changes themselves. So let's get into it here with season one. Season one, I think, was good. There was a lot of interesting ideas going around and a lot of interesting characters. Giannis, Wheelish. I think Serket was before season one actually dropped. I actually forgot, but the original Nox was in here. Ao Kwang was in this season as well. So there's a lot of interesting ideas. That didn't make the season very interesting, though. I think there was a lot of boringness going around because there was a lot of the same characters, but then like the fun goofy stuff from the beta just wasn't in season one anymore. It just wasn't in there, and the people were building the same thing over and over again. We criticized the sort of forced meta changes that Smite does now, but looking back on it, you can kind of see why they did it, because the ADC build was the same the whole year pretty much. There was a lot of interesting ideas for a little while there because we had like Ataraxia back then, Barracuda, that man. They were all building different builds, but like, bro, some of those builds were trash. You guys remember the unicorn build? People were swearing that was good. If you, I don't even know if you can actually look up. If you look up Smite unicorn build, what will you find? I don't know, but it was garbage, dude. I don't know why people thought that was good, but anyways, there was a lot of fun stuff though, and the map was a big vibe, big old vibe. And in a lot of ways, the game was more balanced than it is now, but that's just because the game was a lot simpler. So in that sense, you could say this was a bit of a more boring season looking back on it. But well, to be honest, there wasn't a lot of new players playing season one. There's a lot of beta players for the most part. So yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, sieging was definitely way too easy in these early seasons. That was a big problem back in Smite. You just saw so many bulldozer run over moments. Um, and the fire giant wasn't fully tuned in yet. The fire giant was it's a little silly at that time with the lava pools and so on. In the solo meta, yes, soul laners were so broken. Looking back at it now, what soul laners were able to do, it's nothing compared to what soul laners can do now. It was dummy. It was dummy back then. What soul laners were capable of, as well as, let me think back. What else was OP? There's a lot of mid laners that were just dumb OP, and you didn't always have your actives, right? This was when they were called actives, because you had to buy your actives straight up. You didn't get an active for free back then. This was different. This was hardcore, so you basically had to waste money on an Aegis if you're against like a Hubwa or Poseidon. Like, it was rough out here. It was rough. Now I'm just rambling about season one, which I can do about season two, which I think was great. I think season two did a lot of what season one did, but was a lot more enjoyable. A lot more enjoyable on the whole. It mixed things up a little bit more. Like there was a lot more, not a lot more interesting characters. There were plenty of interesting characters, like original Ratatosker, Kepri. I mean, thinking about where we were in season one versus like a god like Kepri and Ratatosker, who was doing like the dashes through everybody with the four different acorns. Raven, as weak as he was as a warrior, I mean, really interesting character as well, with the whole like tagging system where you latch on to someone with the ultimate. That probably, if you didn't play original Robin, trust me, it wasn't that different. But yeah, it was still pretty cool. Um, Actors were still in the game. Yeah, it wasn't relics. That led to more hype plays though. I think not being able to have actives, even though it felt a little lame sometimes from like your perspective, is if it's just like, okay, I just want to build my items. I'm not gonna go Aegis against Zeus. Zeus rotated on us level 5 when we died. Oh, okay. So it can feel a little unfortunate sometimes, and those god releases like Soul, and like Chiron, where they were just way too oppressive when they first came out. And I think Bologna was the start of season two. She made things really, really hard. Yeah, and there was Xing Chen as well. Worlds was just Xing Chen Bologna. It really just was a bruiser fest. Ah, yeah. Looking back on it, it was really unbalanced. There was some really unfun times. Oof, it is tough, but it was so fun. It was so fun. But this is when I really knuckled down and learned the game. But one of the seasons got to be great, right? Because if no season is great, then like what's my yardstick? Then I don't know what my yardstick is for a great Smite season, right? Then like a great Smite season is just in my head. That just means I'm talking about out of my ass, right? So yeah, two I'll say was great. Three, I'll say was great as well. I think relics were the right decision at the end of the day. Like newer players, lower level players just weren't building actives and they were just losing to stupid things because of it. So it was fair. Just like let's get some relics. Season three also introduced a bunch of newer items as well. A lot of those items haven't survived over time, but some of them did. This introduced, I believe, Mantle of Discord, Genji's Guard, Oni Hunters, stuff like that. And also like Masamune and Stone Sword, which just Stone Cutting got removed recently. Fun items, fun stuff, right? So it introduced a lot more new stuff. This was a lot more new stuff than like season one, season two, despite season two having a new map, right? Um, yeah, but season three had very big problems in the form of gods like Raijin, Susano. Dude, if we played Susano the way we do now at with release Susano, there would be some problems, bro. There would be some big problems, I think. And release Raijin as well. It was mostly just because we didn't really have a lot of answers to Raijin at that time. Um, yeah, but season three had a decent mix of gods that were relevant season one, season two, and the newer gods as well in season three were all relevant too. So that there was a really good balance there of like the new is really strong, the new's broken, but the old's really good too. So that's nice. But it was also feeling like because Bologna was still very strong for a lot of season three, if I'm remembering correctly. Uh, yeah, yeah, it was a fun time. Obviously, on the whole, season three was a fun time. There wasn't too many changes to the map though, and that's they Hires noticed. Hires noticed there wasn't a lot of changes to the map, and there weren't a lot of radical changes happening. There's basically relics. That was a radical change in season three. Season four just changed everything. They added a bunch of new starters in season four. They added the rituals in season four. They changed the map like 16 different times. Yeah, it was a weird time to be a Smite fan in season four because they were just throwing everything at the wall at that time. Remember Swiftwing? Do you guys remember the Swiftwing starter item? That was those were not the days, bro. But I think it's not like I want to forget it because there were actually some interesting god releases as well. I believe Kakolin was season four, if I'm not mistaken. He might have been the end of season three, like post Worlds. I can't remember right now, but yeah, he was like season four, RTO season four. Um, yeah, there was some interesting additions to the game. A lot of interesting ideas, and I think what season four did for us was it ironed out what didn't work. I think that's really important. So, um, yeah, a lot of stuff was broken as well. Yeah, junglers were really OP in season four as well, as were mid laners season three, season four, and of course soul laners were broken this whole time. Don't get it twisted. Soul laners have been broken the entire time, so that was a bit of a problem. Um, so dude, like, let's talk about seasons five, six, and seven. Well, actually, wait. There's still some more things I want to talk about season four in case you forgot or weren't there for them. This had things like the fire imps. They're basically like the roaming harpies. Actually, they're a lot like the roaming harpies are now, but they weren't roaming. They were just little minions that just stood around the fire giant. You couldn't leash them very far. You fought against them with jungler and solo laner. In like level one, level two, and it was not good, bruv. It was not looking good. It was very unfun because you had to do it every single game. And it's basically like, okay, who has the cheesier confirmed for it? Okay, we're probably going to lose this ranking game, go next. Rough times. But let's go five, six, and seven. I feel like I already forgot about these seasons because not a lot happened. I mean, there was some item additions in these seasons. that were relatively interesting. But this is where they got the bad habit of let's just add items and make them so OP that people will have to go to them, and that's still something we're feeling today in season 10. So it's a bit of a problem. But let's think about season 5. We had the more variety in OP soul laners, but a lot of OP mage soul laners as well. Um, Not mage soul laners, sorry, magical soul laners. So that was a pain to deal with. Had the rise of things like Glad Shield, I think, was season 5. That was a pain in the neck. Let's think about it. I just realized my music wasn't on that entire time. But yeah, okay. So season 5 was like the rise of they had the King Arthur, the Hera piece, Pele. Yeah, nothing too OP really. So there wasn't too much slammage going on in terms of the God releases, so that's always nice. But at the same time, it makes the season less memorable when you don't have those crazy releases. So that's a bit of a shame in that respect. Uh, let's see. 5. 5, I mean, it had the map change, right? The map change was pretty sweet at the time. I mean, it was something that was needed. I mean, the corruption, the order side was not very interesting, but the corrupt chaos side was pretty interesting. I keep on trying to say corrupted. So six had a few more interesting releases. 6 is when we saw like Persephone, Horse, and Set. Um, yeah, so I would say 5 is like a meh, and then season 6. But then what's gonna be? I want to forget you. I mean, season 7 had some really not so great stuff. This is when also the jungle meta was getting really tired as well. Um, yeah, the jungle meta was just so boring by season 7 time. Yeah, and I'm trying to yeah, and like ADCs had been so stale this entire time. Like there was a revamp, I think it was season 6, maybe end of season 5, to like the hunter builds, and they just didn't change. They just didn't change till season 8. It was kind of wild. It was kind of wild. Um, hmm. Yeah, I would say 7. 7 was probably the lamest. It had yeah. Oh, I just looked at my other screen. Yeah, that one had Cthulhu. Yeah, season 7 definitely. I mean, season 6 had a lot of OP stuff too, but I mean, this is when Umoja was added to the game, so yeah, we'll say it was good. So season 8. On the whole, I thought season 8 was good. I think it added a lot to the game that we were hoping for. You know, it added not necessarily the most interesting map change ever, but it had like that the dynamic map, right? That was season 8, I think. The map was dynamic in season 8, and it didn't always have the most interesting things going on in the map, you know, like the vines and stuff like that was kind of boring. Um, but it did have a lot of interesting not items. Items weren't really interesting in season 8. Uh yeah, I mean the builds did change between season 7 and 8 for like ADCs and stuff, but it wasn't anything too interesting, and that's still something we're suffering from. Like we got that the ADC meta shift in season 5, season 6. I'm forgetting right now, but it still hasn't really. It switched basically back to what we were doing season 4 ish, I think. Yeah, like season 3, season 4, where it was just like, okay, now we're doing a trans meta, now we're doing a devs glove meta, trans Aussie meta. Oh, now it's just an Aussie meta. Whoa, crazy. Um, yeah, so season 8, I would say on the whole was good because well, it also yeah, I'm remembering it had those. Oh, was this the yeah? I think mid season 8 was when the Mannequins Warriors came around. It was Osiris, Erlong, Gilga every single game. You could not do a thing to them. They actually would just kill anything. Kill it. They would go, bro. Fire Giant level 1. They would do it with the OPS Mannequins build. That was so annoying. Um, I haven't talked about supports much. I'm realizing now, and that's my bad. Soul definitely didn't take a back foot just yet. I would say in season 8. luckily, luckily, right? But there's also some cool releases in season 8. I mean, Gilgamesh and Tiamat, despite being so very broken for a very long time, they are really cool gods. Tiamat's fun to play. Gilgamesh fun to play. Um, Morgan Le Fay, very fun to play. Bars. Charybdis, not necessarily fun to play, but she's a cool god at least. Kleena, super unique. Atlas, you know, he's more of a season 9 god, right? But at the end of the day, Atlas, season 8 god, pretty cool. Yeah, and I remember solo at this time being pretty fun as well. I played a decent amount of solo season 8. That was fun. Um, yeah, on the whole, because this added totem, right? Or was totem season 7? I don't think there was a totem season 7. Am I on crack? Yeah, I think totem was season 8. So that added a little aspect to it, a little bit of extra jungle action. Uh, Despite the jungle meta not necessarily being the most interesting. So I'd say that was good. Season 9, I think, missed the mark a bit, especially when it came to the totems. The totem, not totems, what are they called? Obelisks. The obelisks, the trebuchets, stuff like that. Um, it's good that it was a part of the Smite's history, right? I'm glad we did it. We went through it. But it just wasn't something that was very interesting. They kept revamping the obelisk, and it's like, okay, it's not interesting the first time. Okay, let's revamp it. It's not interesting the second time. Okay, the third time, still not a very interesting concept. It's just focus on getting the cups, stealing the cups, and just winning the game through farming these cups, right? You don't even necessarily need to play Smite well until like the 20-minute mark, right? And you just play mind, not even necessarily mind games. You just out pressure them with a trebuchet and stuff, and then the item builds really took a turn for the worst because they were just the same pretty much every role. Particularly ADCs once again, because even towards the end of season 9, even after I think a nerf, the Wind Demon, not Wind Demon, Shadow Steel sure can start. People were just buying it because it had a lot of power on it. So there's a lot of lame stuff, a lot of reductive things in season 9 that just weren't very. Yeah, basically season 9 felt like season 8, but they added an unnecessary addition. Yeah, that was really smart. Um, they had an unnecessary addition in the form of obelisks, and the item balancing wasn't quite as good. Season 9, season 9 gods. Oh, they added Ishtar. Yeah, that's a meh season right there. Uh, what about the other gods? Is it Shiva or Shiva? I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, he wound up being a bit of a flop because he was crazy OP, and then just nobody played him. Yu Huang still relevant. Lancelot, yeah, I mean Lancelot was cool. Yeah, these are a lot of like just okay gods that were strong for sure. It's just they weren't very interesting additions to the cast. Unlike season 8, which had just a ton of very fun, very interesting gods added to the game. So how's season 10 so far? Season 9, it's not season 9. Season 10 has a lot of problems, to be honest. Um, I'm enjoying it on the whole. To be fair, I'm a jungler for the most part, so bit of bias going on here. Bit of bias. It's horrible playing solo. I've hated every second I've played that role this season. Three gods can do something out of lane. That's it. Literally playing any other god, you get out of the laning phase. You can't do anything unless you're in comms with your team. Um, like soul laners are just complete CC bots. Like if your soul laner is dependent on dealing damage and doesn't have a really hard, heavy CC ability, you can't play him. You can't play a god. Can't play that god. You bully your opponent out of lane. Oh, the jungler is already 2 levels ahead of you, and they just cringe gank you and kill you. Oh, that's lovely, sir. That's wonderful. And the starts have a lot of potential. They just need to reduce the leash range, I think. Just like not have these crazy starts. Or maybe not make the camps leash for their first spawn. Maybe their first spawn doesn't leash, right? Because like the leashing just isn't really it's not looking good, bruv, with how far you can leash them. You basically just can't invade anything because your teammate, not teammate, your lane opponent sees you going for an invade, and so they just go to their buff, leash the buff, and you can't get it. So that's lame too. Builds have actually been okay. They were OP for sure. Crit is definitely OP. Yeah, I just wish they did things to the other aspects of ADCs. They just didn't do anything to crit yet, really. I mean, obviously they've nerfed crit at this point. Um, it is 10.5. It just hit 10.5 now. So they've nerfed crit, but it's not enough yet. I was trying to rhyme again. Um, it's a very ambitious season. They're trying to do these big mix-ups, but that I think is also detrimental. I'm going to say this is a meh so far. It could be bumped up to good, but I think on the whole it can never be great, seeing as how we're about not halfway through, we're like a third of the way through the season, and it just hasn't been looking good, buff. It hasn't been very fun unless you were a jungler at the start of the season, a jungler or a mid laner at the oh well, yeah, considering we're only a third of it. Okay, a jungler in the mid a few patches later, a jungler mid ADC patches after that. So yeah. So what do you guys think? Do you love this list? Do you hate it? Let me know. I have the tier list in the description, and thanks for watching.